In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, family. Welcome to a milestone episode of America in Black and White. Tonight, we celebrate episode 100 of season 4, Statement to Storytelling, Truth-Telling, and the Brilliance of Black Leadership Across the Nation. And for this historic moment, we're joined by a man who embodies energy, excellence, and elevation. James Brown Jr. is a speaker, coach, facilitator, MC, voice or talent, and founder of the Yes Summit. He is a man who wears many hats, literally more than 40, but figuratively even more. His voice commands attention, his presence ignites engagement, and his message inspires transformation. From being an all-American track star to becoming an award-winning national sales executive, James has mastered the art of performing when the lights come on. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping organizations strengthen culture, improve communication, and build teams that thrive in what he calls the exchange zone, the place where connection, excellence, and accountability meet. His work empowers youth and adults, challenges leaders to rethink how they show up, and reminds us that every person we encounter is a customer deserving of respect, value, and humanity. Tonight, we honor his journey, his voice, his impact, and the legacy he continues to build. This is episode 100. This is America in Black and White, and this is James Brown Jr. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I am just excellent. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. And before we go too much further, let me first say congratulations on making it to 4 seasons and this milestone of an episode being 100. Not many get that far in the program. So congratulations to you, your tribe, your village, your partners, your supporters, your network, and everybody who has something to do with making this great show stay alive for so long.
I definitely appreciate that. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get into the show?
I'm just excited to be here. I hope something is said or done that will impact somebody. I know it's going to help me. We just hope it helps somebody else. I'm excited to be here. You are a tremendous asset to the community. What you're doing with American Black and White it stands on its own. And so that's why it's still lasting, and that's why we're still here. And I'm just honored and privileged to be a guest on your platform with your audience.
Well, thank you. And as we get into the show, I want to thank each and every individual that's on and watching right now, including all of our supporters that are here always. As we start our show, I want to thank you for being here. So, James, I want to start with, the part that I like to do where I like to get the audience the opportunity to get to know more about, James before James became James, who he is right now. And can you tell us what early experiences shaped your confidence and communication style?
It's actually funny. I was telling somebody, and I didn't realize this. So now I'm a professional paid speaker. And I was telling them that I've been a paid speaker for a long time. Growing up in church, we had to do Easter speeches.
Okay.
And I knew my Easter speech. I knew it well. And every time I got ready to give it, I would start crying. And so the pastor would take me to the back, give me $1 or a silver dollar, $1 or $2 bill, and say, now go give the speech. So I say that's what built me in being able to be a paid speaker. I've been getting paid to speak for a long time. But what built my confidence? It's still something that we work on, that we work towards. It's everything that we've done, everything that we do leads to another. Being a speaker was not anything that was on my radar, and maybe we'll get to the history of it then. But now, when you get audience feedback, when you get people who've heard you before, when you know your content and understand that it's not about you, that it's about them, that's what gives me the umph to keep going. Understanding that nerves, as I train people on speaking, that everybody I know who gives a speech is nervous. But
well, we don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
No, okay. But I was going to say that we don't sound like we think we sound. And so once we get past that and understand that, that ought to help us be able to deliver the message that we've been prepared to deliver.
Well, just here in the comments, I just want to say this special hello. We're having, let me put it on the screen for you. This person is from Dublin, Ireland, and they're saying hello.
Well, hello from Dublin, Ireland. Thank you, Rockburn 3985.
How did growing up in your community influence your leadership journey?
Well, growing up in the community, I grew up in a time when the community was the community. When you had family around, the neighbors had permission to discipline you. You would see strong men, strong women, and then you saw some things that, okay, I do want to do this, I don't want to do that. And so you put yourself in position with the guidance of the village, of the tribe. I'm big on community, to help steer you and put you in position to be successful. You don't get everything that you wanted when you wanted it. You had to work for things. You had to do chores. You had to get up. Even if you had nothing to do, you had to learn how to clean the house. My mom said, I want to teach you everything that you need to do so you can live on your own. And so I was able to cook, clean, iron, wash, and I mean really clean. They had to do the yard and the flower bed and all of that kind of stuff. And it creates a work ethic in you and a sense of responsibility. And then when you see other people doing it, when you see responsible adults getting up, going to work, getting up, making up the bed, getting up, going, and then you see other people, on your way to places who are just kind of sitting around. And so you realize, in life that I think when we learn lessons, we learn some things to do and then some things on what not to do. And seeing those people, kind of helped evolve. And to me, leadership is an ever evolving skill. It's something that I'm always learning, trying to read, picking up. Yes, I like this. I don't like that. This works for me. This doesn't work for me. And being able to adapt and to adjust and then put it into action.
Well, as we talk about, when you mentioned about the community and how the community could raise and discipline the children, I know that, as times evolve, and things are supposed to get better. But I gotta say, I don't think that part of life evolved as it should, because I think now it's kind of like there's too much leniency. And so when I say that, I mean, I hope this don't come off wrong, but I mean, I think the structure and discipline in households are so necessary. Yeah. And so as we try to inspire and motivate this younger generation, it's one of those where it seems like it's a lot of work. Can you tell us what are some of the things that you do to try to help the younger generation to be inspired and motivated like you are?
Well, it is a lot of work. And so I'll start with my home. Everybody's house is not like my house, but when young men or young women walk into my house or come into my presence, they have to speak. And it's, even if it's, you're not calling me, what's up, bruh? You're not, I'm not your friend. I'm Mr. James, or I'm Joseph's dad, or Chandler's dad, or Mr. Brown, or something along those lines. So you're going to have to speak. We're going to shake hands. We're not, all the high five, and we're going to shake hands. We're going to greet. We're going to, how was your day? And so I do that in my home, and even if they have to ride with me in the car, to give some of that just in case you're not getting it at home. The other thing I do as a speaker is I go talk to schools. We talk about, in career days, we spend time talking about entrepreneurship. I was a kid who got in trouble in school for talking. And so I go tell kids, you don't have to do all the talking. I said, but there is a lane for that. Now I get paid to talk. But there's something about getting paid to talk. You need to know what you're talking about, who you're talking to. So it's not just blah. I remember I was at this one school. The kid said, I can do that. That's easy, just talking. And I said, you know what? I have 15 minutes. You can take 13. Come on up and do it. And well, what am I supposed to talk about? Well, I don't know. You said it's easy, bro. You do it. Come on, young man. You said you can do this. And so if you're going to have that type of vibrato with yourself,
yeah,
bring it. Do it. Come on. And so, of course, he fell flat on his face. But let them know. I also go to, I talk to juveniles in the prison. I go there probably 4 times a year to talk to kids. And the message is simple. Failure is not fatal. Your current situation is not your permanent situation. And it's never too late to do the right thing. We can't talk about the generations and talk about the kids and then not do anything to give back. So I talk to them whenever I can. I talk to the sports teams. I talk to the academic teams. I talk to anybody who comes to my house. I'll go to prison. I'll go to the church. I'll go to the schools. Anytime somebody calls and says, well, do you have time or are you available to talk to the kids? Yes, because if I can just touch just one, then it'll help at least that one and whatever their sphere of influence is. I spoke at my son's, probably the most nervous I've been speaking at my son's baseball banquet. It's nothing like talking in front of your kids and in front of your family. But afterwards the kids are like, thank you so much. The parents are like, thank you so much. They still remember things that were said then that could help them through life, or help them at least in the immediate future anyway. But the give back, you mentioned the Yes Summit, the Youth Entrepreneurial Support Summit. What do we do to get kids? College is not the answer for everything. Right. I tell people all the time when I go talk to kids in school, teachers, close your ears. Everybody doesn't need to go to college, but you do need to become a productive citizen. What is it that you can do that will make you a productive citizen? What can you do to be the best you can be? And that may not be a AA, a BA, a MS, a PhD. That may not be that. You may be an electrician. You may be a plumber. You may be HVAC. You may be landscaping. You may be a baker or a chef or military or a plane washer or whatever it is. What can you do? And so, giving them the options, don't be afraid to try it, especially while you have no responsibility.
That's true. What values did your father instill in you that still guide your work today?
And he would say you need to have some money in your pocket, some work in your hands, and some God in your heart. You need to go to work. You got to have God, and you need to have some sense in your head. Those were things that he instilled, but he also instilled respect everybody you're around, especially your elders. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Trust the process. Put in the work. Do what one of his phrases was, once you've done all you can do, that's all you can do. But make sure you did all you can do. Trust the rest. He's a great guy. Yeah.
When did you first realize you had a gift for speaking?
Speaking found me. I had been in hospitality for, at the time, probably 22 or so years. And, you kind of feel that glass ceiling, kind of what's next. What happened is I was taking my kids to school, and I was taking Joseph, and I said, hey, man, go be great. Go be all you're supposed to be. And the way the mirror worked, it happened to be pointing at me, but I'm looking at the rearview mirror in him. And I'm asking myself, are you doing all you're supposed to do? Are you being everything you're supposed to be? And I was emceeing this event in downtown Houston. And after the event, the speaker of the event came up to me and said, young man, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do. You need to be on stage. I'm a professional speaker. I've spoken all over the world. And that may be the best introduction I've ever had. Your ability to control the room, your understanding how to read the room, your voice control, you're supposed to be on stage. While he's talking to me, my phone vibrates, and it's a text message from a friend named Monica. And Monica's a meeting planner who hires speakers. And she said, JB, we need to get together and talk about you being a speaker. I think you have something. And so Rob Pennington, who has since passed, he was the very first one to say something. While he's talking, Monica, who's a dear friend of mine right now, said, you need to do it. And so I met with him, had coffee, talked about speaking. I met with Monica, talked about what she looked for, started talking to speakers I had met across my breadth of work, took some workshops, read some books, and jumped into it.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
you just have that innate gift when it comes to just speaking and being around people.
I guess it is a gift. Because it's not anything I sought out. I cried giving Easter speeches.
Well, that's always what happens in the beginning.
But yeah, I guess it is a gift that, and I'm not afraid to use it. It's still a lot of work, a lot of reading, a lot of preparation, a lot of research. But yeah, I guess so. I guess it is.
So how did athletics shape your discipline and mindset?
So I started off playing basketball, which was my favorite sport, but I was better at track, thanks to the basketball coach and track coach having a meeting. But in athletics, there's some things that you have to do. You have to know how to compete. You have to go to practice. You have to know how to be coached. You have to know how to get along with people because you have teammates, and you take all of that and put it into a pot, and it comes up with this that shaped me. I get along with people. I understand people, love people, like to put people in position to be successful. I like to listen to people. As I told you about Dr. Pennington, who told me about speaking, in Monica, I'll listen. I take coaching. I take advice. I take instruction. I take criticism. I take it. And then when the lights come on, it's time to execute everything that you've prepared for. And so, people want to just show up and you haven't prepared and you wonder what happened. Well, athletics taught you that if you prepare properly, you can execute. Some things you can control, some things you can't control. You win some, you lose some. It's what do we do to get up and keep going? And so I've taken all of that and applied it. It's been part of my DNA, part of the who I am for a very, 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 very long time.
So how did being an All-American track star teach you about pressure and performance?
If you think about running at that level, you're running in front of 50,000 people. And you talk about pressure, track, unlike, some other sports, football. So football, you have on a helmet, you have on a uniform, you have on pads. Somebody can miss the block, that's on them. In track, you're on an island. It's you and the blocks, and the tape doesn't lie. And so I've run against the Carl Lewises and the Leroy Burrells and the Michael Johnson. I'm dating myself a little bit, and running against those guys, they run by me so fast. But I learned that although I didn't win the race, they allowed me to perform my best. I ran my best time running against them. So although I didn't come in first place, I still won. And so the pressure of it, the anxiety, how do you take a deep breath and trust your preparation? The pressure will reveal how much you've prepared. And my very first, I feel like you reminded me, my very first track meet in college, we were running indoor in Oklahoma City. I fell. Like, I got pushed down and fell on the track. And what do you do? Got up and finished the race. But it taught me again, I won't make that mistake again. You won't catch me like that. So we adapt, we adjust, we compete, we do our best, and we get up and go back to work.
So, I think when you think about the spirit of competition, and especially when you talk about athletics at that level in which you were competing, if your mental focus is not there, then it's going to be really, really difficult. But let's say like for you, where, you were totally focused, you trained, you practiced, you did all those things. When something happens, let's say on a day where, you're not feeling at your best, how are you able to amp yourself up and still do that performance that needs to be done? How do you do that?
Every day is not peaches and cream. Some days you just don't feel it. But it wasn't about me. Well, as much as it was about me, it wasn't about me. I still had teammates. What if I don't show up? It impacts my teammates. What do I say to the cafeteria workers? What do I say to the bus drivers? What do I say to the trainers? What do I say to my family? What do I say to myself? I didn't come here to not show up. I didn't come here to not perform. I did not come here. I was reading something the other day, and it talked about an Olympian, and it made sense. He was running the marathon and got hurt about halfway through. He ended up being like an hour behind all the other people. And he said, my country didn't send me here to start. They sent me here to finish. So I have to be ready to finish the race, whatever that takes, however I have to get myself going, I need to get it going. And so that's why in athletics, and I even think in life, that muscle memory is something that was really key. We warmed up the same way, went through the same routine for practice and for races, so that your body instinctively kicks in and says, I've done this before. So although I don't feel my best, I'm not in uncharted territories.
Wow. See, now I want you to, I need you to say that again, because I want people to actually get that, because I don't think a lot of people sometimes really realize the importance of teamwork. I mean, oh my God, teamwork is everything.
Yes.
Can you just say something similar to that again? Because I want to make sure that the audience get that.
So let's put it in a relay format. It's called the exchange zone. You know, we take this baton and pass it from one to the next. If I'm running, say I'm running second or third leg, and first and second leg mess up, who does that impact? It impacts everybody. Yep. What we do, the decisions we make impact more than us. Everything we do will impact somebody else along the way. So then what do you do to make the decisions? It's all about the team. If I don't do my part, then how can they be successful? Now, we have to communicate through that, but it's bigger than me. We have trainers, we have cooks, we have statisticians, we have bus drivers, we have coaches, we have other teammates. We're trying to collect points, and I have to do my part. It's almost, you want to say it's no excuse. You have a responsibility, and you have to do it whether you feel like it or not.
What challenges did you face transitioning from sports to corporate America? Now that had to be a change.
That was huge. Going from now, so I'm gonna go ahead and say this. Thank you for your service. And when you got out of the service and became a civilian, that's a different thing. The first thing is how much structure that sports brought that you don't have in work life. Yeah, I mean, by the time I got to work, you go 8 to 5. But when I was running in college, you know, you had certain times that you trained. You knew what time you had to eat because you knew what time you had to train. You knew what time you had to lift. You knew what time you had to study. You knew what time you had to do all that stuff. At work, you just show up. There's no coach on you with here's our workout for the day. Here's your responsibility to get done at work. And then one of the other things is for people who didn't compete, trying to learn how to temper the stress in stressful situations. Competing at that level, stress, I actually slow down in stressful situations. Like I don't go as fast because in track, we called it pressing. If somebody pulled up next to you and you pressed, you were done. How do you relax and allow your body to function the way it's been trained? And so in stressful situations at work, you know, people are running around with their head cut off and they looking at me like, do you care? I said, yeah, but I can't function like that. And so that actually was a hindrance until I was able to articulate it. I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't realize it was a problem until, do you care about anything? I said, when have I ever not produced? And then understanding how people really don't care about the team and work. It's me, mine, I, and they become just these biters. We're all on the same team trying to get the same goals. We have different responsibilities, but if you do your part and I do my part, and if I can help you do your part, I will. And if you can help me do my part, then please do. But this I, me, my mindset was really something to have to deal with. It was really an adjustment.
So, what moment in your life felt like the turning point toward purpose?
When I talked to, in hindsight, when I talked to Rob Pennington and Monica Greenwich at that one event, who said you need to look at speaking. Again, it's something that wasn't even close to being on my radar, but that changed the trajectory. That allowed me to fall into a space that I was telling one of my, I call them internal board of directors, but one of my business associates the other day, college roommates, he's leaning towards retirement. He said, I'm gonna work about another 18 months, 2 years, and I'm out of here. And I said, I could do what I'm doing for the rest of my life. I enjoy what I do. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't, as much as it's a business, I have to remember to get paid to do it because that's how much I enjoy it. So that moment, them seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself, that allowed me then to go find out what it is that I was supposed to be doing.
So, how do you stay grounded while wearing so many hats?
I'm still trying to get it. Every day, it's what's next. I don't think I've done enough to brag about. Who has? And I know people who do, and that's probably part of it. I know people who brag on themselves and brag on what they've done, especially in this social media era. That I know where you live. I know what you're posting is not an actual picture of reality. You're making it up, and so that helps. But I still have a wife who keeps me grounded. I have kids who are in school, so there's just so much more to do. I have big goals and big dreams. I'm not even close to it. So, and I think I was reading something yesterday. It talks about we're never satisfied because we keep raising the bar. And I realized that as I look back, I keep raising the bar. Whenever I get to a certain level, the bar raises. One of the sports I enjoy is golf. And just like track, you can't ever be perfect. There's always room to do more. There's always room to do better. You always left shots out. You always left something there. And I don't think I have anything not to be grounded about. I'm blessed, and I'm not shading anything. I'm blessed and I'm fortunate and I'm thankful, but I got a long way to go before I can not be grounded.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being insatiable unless you get to be so egotistical. And when you get to be egotistical, then that's just, oh my God, that's just, I don't know, that's bad medicine.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
When you mention, how you have your wife and your family that keeps you grounded. When you look around or you sit down sometimes and let's say you just look out and you're just resting and relaxing at some point, do you ever just think about what this is doing for you, to have this opportunity to have great people around you like that to keep you in that area?
I do. I do. And it's a beautiful thing. Everybody doesn't have it. I know people, I've talked to people who struggle, and the things they struggle with family wise, I don't have those. I can't, I can have sympathy with them, but I can't join into the pity party. I am very blessed. I've been married. If I make it to September, it'll be 26 years. And the audience, don't start feeling some type of way. If you ask my wife how long we've been married, she'll say, and I quote, if we make it to September, it'll be 26 years. We've been doing that since year one. That's just our thing. But we don't have any any major issues or anything. And I am so thankful and appreciative and blessed and fortunate. And I do think about, if I didn't have her, I don't know if I would be where I am now. I just think she's supportive. She pushes when I need to. She cooks when she needs to. And she knows, hey, what are you doing? Or you're doing too much. let's sit down, or like, when's your next trip? When's your next event? What are you doing? When you releasing the podcast? Where are you on the book? Where's the content? So she's part of that internal board of directors, that circle that I have, that is key and vital to who and why I am where I am.
So what does legacy mean to you?
Man, the older I get, and so we can just, but I'm 54. So to some people that's old. My kids think I'm old. My dad is 79. I'm still a baby. So I'm in that sandwich phase, but it means a lot. What do I do to make a difference? I told my pastor not long ago, I said, can you preach my funeral so I can hear what you have to say? Because I just want to know. But I've thought about it. My one of my buddies was talking about, he wants to have his funeral while he's alive. But what have I done to leave an impact on the world? Legacy to me is bigger than money. Now I don't want to leave my kids broke, even though my dad told me he wants his last check to bounce. But but what do I do to prepare you or anybody? What do I do? Did I make a difference in your life at all? Did I do anything to make your life easier? Did I do anything to be an asset? Or because I try not to just take, but I want to give, and I want to leave it where you're talking about me when I'm not around, and in a good way. not here go that joker again, but in a positive way. So that's what legacy is for me. It's about, what are you saying in rooms that I'm not in, and when I die, and I know I'm going to die at some point, what is being said, what is left behind, that I made a contribution to society.
Let's talk a little bit about your work as a speaker. So first of all, I know you said that you were approached about speaking.
Yeah.
And so when you were approached about speaking, and that's from these two profound people that were in your life, can you tell us that when they approached you, how did it get to the point that you got to be a professional at speaking?
It definitely took some time. And so I spent the 20 whatever years in the hospitality industry, and I did, majority of that was in sales, business development. And so when I met with Dr. Rob over coffee, he said, what do you do? Told him I did sales. He said, then talk about sales. That never really sat with me, because I don't like the idea of being in sales. I don't like sales people. I don't like that, except everything we do is sales. But he said, essentially, what do you know then that you didn't, what do you know now that you didn't know then? And let's come up with 3 things. And he wrote this whole thing out. And I called one of my mentors, LaDonna, and I said, hey, LaDonna, what do you think about me speaking? And she said, oh my gosh, your ability to build relationships. And I was like, that's it. I'm not in sales. I like relationships. I like enterprise sales, longer term, building relationships, and then the transactions will come. And so I started working on that. And I had taken some works. Crystal Washington, who's one of my sheroes, she's a CSP Hall of Fame, all the credentials as a speaker. She is somebody I had spoken to about it. Simon Bailey's another one. I had talked to Judy Holler. I talked to several people about speaking, but just about the business of speaking. And I was at a work. So I started talking about this idea of rewarding relationships. So how do we develop these relationships? And relationships can help sales, customer service, employee retention, all of that kind of stuff. And I was at this National Speakers Association workshop, and I was having lunch with Glenn Guyton, who's another speaker, mentor, colleague of mine. And somehow track came up, and he said, you ran track? I said, yeah. He said, what, middle school, high school? I said, no, man, I was high school, college, All-American, World Championship trial, qualifier, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, what? He said, I've been knowing you for 3 or 4 years, and you never talk about track. I said, well, everybody's All-American. And he was like, he put his fork down. I can still see him now. He said, fool, it's 8 billion people in the world. Everybody is not All-American. Figure out a way to put that in, that's what people want to hear. said, okay. So after lunch, the session we went to was about people hire speakers to solve problems. What problems do you solve? And so they just kept asking, and I'm like, you know what? I really hate disconnection. When we bad customer service is disconnecting with the customer. When we miss sales, oftentimes is disconnection. When we lose employees, is disconnection. I say it's just like if you drop the baton. And I'm like, holy cow, that's it. Everything happens in the exchange zone. Hence, that's where the batons came out. And so I Googled, I went to GoDaddy, the exchange zone, the way I spell it, THEXCHANGE zone was available, bought the website. And then from there, just started building it out and flushing it out and talking to people and talking through it. And then it came to be. And then you figure out if you're in business, one of my friends said, if you're in business and you're not making money, you just have a hobby. So then you have to figure out, how do you make money as a speaker? And so I kept talking to speakers, kept reading books, the Les Browns and the Simon Sinek's and the Gary V's and all these, then the different lanes of speakers. And where do you go? Are you motivational? Are you inspirational? Are you transformational? Are you business? Are you, and then where do you go? And just continue to work through it. And I still speak as much as I can. And because I still want to be impactful. And that's how the business is growing. And we get better. The more we do it, the better we get at it. And we just keep showing up on stages. But to be in business, you have to make money. So speaking is a revenue generator for me.
So tell us, how do you prepare for a keynote?
Well, the first thing I need to do is understand. I research and talk. I research as much as I can about who I'm going to talk to, whether it's a company or an association or a school, or whatever. Understand their culture, understand their language, understand their lingo. I talk to as many people as I can. What is the overall conference theme? I customize everything I do. Again, because it's not about me. What do I do to figure out, what are you trying to get across? What are some things, either some threads or some challenges or opportunities, or what's the thread that you're trying to get through in this conference? What is the president going to talk about? What is whoever else is going to talk about? What other speakers do you have? What are they talking about? And then how do we craft a message so that it seems seamless? Now, we do have a certain thing that, there's some staples in my presentation, the way I deliver. I'm not going to copy off of somebody else or their style or their energy or their tempo or their tone. But what's the message that you want to get across? And what can I do to tailor the message to make it easy and palatable for the audience, for leadership, for the attendees, for the meeting planner, for the event organizer? Because if I get up there and start going off script or going off the cuff, or that's not what we're talking about, it seems disjointed. Coming from hospitality, coming from the background, coming from that, what do we do to make it seamless? It's going to a restaurant and the dessert comes before the entree. No, what do we do to make sure this thing flows the way you want it to? Am I opening? Am I around the meal? Am I closing? What happens before? What's going to happen after? All of that comes into play. What was a successful speaker like last time? What did they like? What didn't you like? And then customize it, still in my authentic voice, but customize it to meet the needs that you have. It's about you.
So what makes your speaking style so unique?
That is quite interesting. I was doing some research recently. When I speak, we send out these surveys and people are allowed to fill it. It's been said that I am inspirational, entertaining, and educating at the same time. It's inspiring, it's attention getting, it's interactive, but then you walk away. That's the thing that I was most proud of when I was reading this last bit of information, that I was able to walk away with actionable items I could use immediately at work and at home. And again, where did that come from? That might be that gift you're talking about earlier, just understanding. I had a meeting planner tell me, she said, do you know what your superpower is? I said, no. She said, audience engagement. Don't ever forget it. Your ability to connect with the audience is like none other. Double down on it. So you know, I have to go with what the people say. I don't go back and listen to my speeches. Oops, did I say that out loud?
No, but see, look. So apparently, see, you got that telepathic power, because that goes into my next question, because I wanted to know, how do you keep audiences engaged from start to finish?
Uh, I've been to enough conferences and heard people stand up there and just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Uh, I do ask questions, and questions require answers, so I allow the audience to answer. Uh, I I I present information in a way where it's a I give it, and you need to respond. You know, do you wave your hand? Do you say it with me? And one of the things that I do uh, that is I'm understanding is very, very unique is I actually take batons with me. So I take batons with me, and I get audience members to come up and let's pass the baton and let's make observations. What do we observe? What do we know? What can we do different? What did this mean? What did this do? Who does this impact? And so they really like getting up and being part of the show, part of the presentation, and we talk about it, and they have to get up, and I'll wait until I need the volunteers. And so to get the people volunteered, get them up and moving. Yeah.
So, what role does storytelling play in your presentations? Because it sounds like, when you're getting into the story, that you're giving them this, like the like you're setting it up. You give them the setup, and then you go in. So, how does the storytelling part comes into that, and how do you make that work so well?
Storytelling is key to for me is one of the keys to learning. What is it that I can take that I can relate to the audience? What can I take from it? I keep a folder on my phone of stories, of content. You know, this happened here, and I'll tell them a story. I say, who's ever gone to the doctor? Everybody's gone to the doctor. I had a colonoscopy that I had to have, and they called me for the pre-conference, and I went in, and they told me they had canceled the appointment. They had been trying to call me, and they were rude and all this kind of stuff. And so I kind of ended with the lady said at the end of the day said, we reschedule your appointment. So are you going to reschedule or not? And I was like, no, if you treat me like this while I'm awake, you think I'm gonna let you put me to sleep and work on me? No, because, and so people can understand that. So how do you find stories that relate to, real life, what people are going through? You can have all the stats and all the stuff, which we have, but how do you tie it in? How do you make it entertaining? How do you make it engaging? How do you make it memorable? And it's through storytelling.
So, when you think of your speeches, when you're talking to different organizations and people, um, how does that work goes into what it is that you do with your own business, but also with the community? How does that play in that whole role?
So the speaking is my business. So I need to make sure I'm relevant, that I'm relative, that somebody in the room can go tell somebody else about it, because I am the product. If I was a restaurant, I am the steak. I am the entree. I am the main course. As a matter of fact, I'm the appetizer, the main course, and the dessert and the drink. I am it. So how do I make sure that I am uh, authentic, that my materials line up with who I really am, that they get the experience that they think they're going to get when I show up? How do I remain consistent? How do I remain relevant? How do I remain uh, personal? How do I remain easy to work with? Because all of that ties together. Now, when I go to the community, it's the same thing. If I go talk to a school, I was telling my son the other day, I said, I'm just as nervous talking to a school of seventh graders as I am talking to an audience of 700, because it's not about me. And I understand, I guess, from the track days, and not I guess, I know from the track days that fear and excitement are the same neurological response. It's what you do with it. I know that I want to make sure that I do something, say something, show up in a real, authentic, and impactful way. And so in the community, I can do a little bit different talking to schools than I can talking to adults. I can play a little bit more with terminologies and with words and things, uh, you know, and when you're speaking, depending on how long you have, you either need to learn how to stretch it out, or you better learn how to, when you're cooking a brisket, do you go low and slow, or do you go hot and fast? And you better be able to do both and be effective in the same manner. And the schools and the prisons and all, it allows me, and I don't call it practice is not the right word, but it gives me reps. It keeps me fresh. It keeps me talking to 8th graders or 10th graders about entrepreneurship or leadership or sports. Can still give me even more content to talk to adults about those same things: leadership, authenticity, showing up, entrepreneurship, same thing.
So, for those young people or young professionals that are out there that may want to get into the speaking arena, what are some words of wisdom that you can give them as to what it takes to not only get into this industry, but what it takes to be successful?
You better have some tough skin. You better get ready for a whole lot of no's. And you better, the more you do it, the more you find your voice. You can't be E.T. It's only one E.T. You can't be Les Brown. It's only one Les Brown. You can't be Charles King. It's only one Charles. What do you do to be authentically, uniquely you? And then it's just like any other business. I talk to my internal board of directors all the time. And I was debating on whether I wanted to take this workshop or not. And he said, you need to take the workshop. I said, man, but it's going to cost, whatever the money was. And he said, if you open a restaurant, you would have to buy a stove. You need to invest. You need to invest. It's not just showing up. I had, people, you just show up and you just start talking. No, I read a lot. I normally keep 2 or 3 books that I'm reading. I take a lot of notes. I listen to people speak. Everywhere I go, whoever is talking, kid, adult, young, old, black, white, Hispanic, foreign, like whatever it is, I pay attention. I pay attention to the leaders who speak on TV. I pay attention to newscasters. I watch what they do, how they do, what are their nuances, and try to pick up little things. But it's not just showing up and you just gonna start talking. How do you bring value? How do you make somebody want to invest in you?
That's smart. I love that. Because I think that there's like an enormous amount of young folk. I've run across a few myself, that I'm sure that's like an area, an arena that they want to get into. And it's like, I say sometimes, me too, but no, let me just talk like here. Let me do this podcast. I'm good with this, because I know that, a lot of people may have some kind of worth, I guess, when it comes to that, but there's got to be a special thing. And when I'm listening to you, I understand about when you say people say you're engaging, and what they get is because it's the tone. And so do you work on that, or is that something that's like just natural? Because it's like you have to listen.
That is key. Listening. For you to do this podcast and to have 100 episodes, you have to listen to people to keep the audience and to keep your guests engaged. We're going on 50 minutes now. You have to listen, and then you regurgitate and you ask questions and lead up questions and follow up questions. My voice is literally, my voice is just my voice. It's God-given, the tone of it. But do I work on pacing? Yes. Do I work on speed? Yes. Am I working on trying to slow down? Yes. And I play with that. I play with the volume. I play with the influx. Stanford did a study years ago that talked about communication. And it said 55% of communication is in body language. So the first thing, what do I look like? Do I look like I want to be here? Because if I came on here and said, man, I'm excited to be here, this is a great podcast, what does that say? So then if my body language says something, then that goes through my voice. I keep a mirror on my desk so I can look at myself when I'm typing, when I'm on the phone, that I make sure I'm looking like I want to look. And then I play with the tone. People are afraid of silence. Silence doesn't bother me. If you don't know what to say, stop, think, spit it out. And then I like to smile. I mean, when I smile, you smile, I smile. And I mean, what? It's enough bad stuff going on in the world. It's enough negativity. I was at the gym the other day, and this guy was like, "Man, every time I see you, you smiling." Okay, I mean, what do you want me to do? Life must be great. I said, man, I'm struggling. I'm broke. I don't know how the bills gonna get paid. My kids crazy. But what you want me to come in here and just be grumpy old man? No, man. So
I like that. I like that. And see, that in itself, that interjects a whole positive image and a whole positive influence right there.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about the Yes Summit and your podcast work, because you know, as we talked and when just looking at the wonderful things that you do, this was one of the things that I really want to highlight, because you know, and talking about community and you being about community, you know, these things say a whole lot. So first of all, if you could tell us what inspired you to create the Yes Summit.
So the Yes Summit stands for, Yes is an acronym for Youth Entrepreneurial Support, and then the Summit. I thought I knew about entrepreneurship, but I really didn't. You know, my parents raised me, go to work, put your head down, keep your butt up, don't take days off, don't use all your vacation, don't use your sick days, and they did the best they could. But that's not for everybody. There's some brilliant minds in these schools, and we pigeonhole them into these things that we think they ought to do. When I go talk to I was talking to the schools, and so I talk about entrepreneurship, and I said, who's an entrepreneur? Nobody raised their hand. And I said, okay, let me ask this. Who does the nails? What girl does the nails? You get paid for it? Yes. You're an entrepreneur. If that's what you're good at, if that's what your natural inclination is, then go to cosmetology school. Go start doing nails. Go learn how to do hair. Learn the way to do it. Start the business. You can hustle your way through college if that's what you want to do, or you can just go make a great living. If who cuts hair? If you know, that's a great occupation. You control your schedule. And as much as haircuts cost now, you say, I went bald head. I can't afford to go to the barbershop. But go do that. If you're naturally inclined to work on cars, start a mechanic business. Wash the cars. Car washing is, people pay to get their car washed. Who likes being outside and playing in dirt? Go start it. And so I'm like, there's nobody really here to tell them that. And then, okay, so where are you and what are you inclined to do? Where's your bend? Where's your natural inclination? Okay, then let's do that. And then what can we do to put the support stuff behind you? If I need to buy the website, I'll go buy the domain for you. I'll get you started. Your parents may invest if you give them a plan. Here's how you write a business plan. Here's what you need. Because I did some research on all these teen entrepreneurs, and I was telling them about this kid, and he's probably a young man now, but this was several years ago. But he had a landscaping company. He started mowing yards when he was 14. By the time he was 17, he was running 2 trucks. By the time he finished high school, he hired his parents to come work for him. When you think about the kids who mows bows, the guys making bow ties, the Me and the Bees lemonade. When you think about the cookie, what's his name? I can't even think of his name now. But he baked cookies and they got in stores. So where's the push? Where's the urge for independency? Where's the urge for being able to put you in a room with other people who think like you? And then what do we do to support you? I can't complain because everybody's not robbing and stealing. There's some brilliant minds out here. So how do we get them to put them in position to be the best that they can be? And so that's why I started the Yes Summit, try to do a workshop, every so often to tell these kids, there is another way to do it. You don't have to go put your face down, butt up for 50 years and get a watch. And that's your life. Now that works. I mean, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be that way. Right. That's where that came to be.
So what impact has the summit had on youth and communities?
Well, if again, mine is, and I don't follow up with them like I should. I put the information out there, I give it to them and go. But I know some kids who are doing some, some smaller entrepreneurial things. The thing that I like about entrepreneurs is everybody started where they started. And so if it changed your mind and gets you thinking about it, you may want to go to school and go in business or go in marketing. When you think about these creatives, I know kids out there who, they like to do all the graphic stuff. And so I know some kids who I hire, and I will hire you for certain things to do graphic design for me. And so if that can give a kid $50, $100 that they don't have to get from their parents, that impacts the community. And then if you see that win, then what can I do to get the next win? And what can I do to get the next win? And what can I do to get the next? And how do I build it? So that's how I think it impacts the community.
So what topics do you explore on the Exchange Zone podcast?
So the Exchange Zone podcast is really interesting how that came to be. Somebody had been talking to me about podcasts for years, and I was like, I don't want to do a podcast. It's too many people like Mr. King out there doing podcasts. I don't need to do it. And I was in the gym one day, and this guy, he said, do you do a podcast? And I said, no. He said, we talk all the time. You really ought to consider doing it. He said, it's not that difficult. You need to do this and this. And I said, wait, I have a whole file on the podcast. I know how to, I have the technical side of it. I just don't want to do the work. He said, so you too lazy to hit record. Is that what you're telling me? And I said, I came to the gym to lift weights. I didn't come here to deal with you on what I need to be doing in my life. But again, somebody else who saw something, who said something. And so what do I do with that? I end up waking up at 3 a.m. and I'm like, okay. And it hit me. I said, well, I'm a former athlete and I know former athletes. And athletes, by and large, especially from mainstream America, get bad reputations. This whole shut up and dribble, or just shut up and play ball, or just shut up and run. But it's too many athletes who are running companies. There's too many athletes who are doing some amazing things that people don't talk about because they think they're just athletes. They're dumb jocks. And I said, well, I'm going to do the Exchange Zone podcast. And it's a bridge between sports and life. So I talked to former collegiate, world-class, and professional athletes about lessons they learned competing that they use in life. The question you asked me earlier about what transferred from sports to the workplace, we have about a 30-minute conversation about that, and then we put it out there. So I don't have 100 episodes yet. I'm coming at you. I don't have 100. I've released 12. I'm up to 12, and I got a can full. But people don't the work you do for this. People don't understand. He just show up and just start talking. No, you have to research. You have to listen. You have to block time. You have to have the right equipment. You have to sound good, look good. And for you even. It's changed since you first started. That backdrop wasn't what it was when you were doing this at first,
Exactly.
Different backdrop, you had headphones. And so again, when you do it, how do you do it? How do you get into it? How do you migrate? How do you become good at what you do? But then you want to make it impactful. And then people go, oh, you got a podcast, you blowing up. I don't even look at the numbers on the podcast. I should, but I don't do it for that. I do it to give former athletes an avenue to talk. It gives me something to talk about. It gives me lessons, and it also gives me content because I can take those stories and then I can use them when I'm talking.
Well, you're absolutely right, though. A lot of people don't know how much it goes into doing a production because that work is so much and it's so meticulous. But, also, I think that's where the guest comes in when we talk about the teamwork, because when you got that team, hey, we working together. Hey, that's what this is.
That's
but
right.
I gotta say, where can we find the Exchange Zone podcast?
The Exchange Zone podcast, we're on YouTube. It's James Brown, The Exchange Zone, and then at one of the tabs, the playlist is the podcast. Or if you just put in the Exchange Zone podcast, Spotify, Apple. And also on Apple Podcasts. Yeah. The Exchange Zone podcast. THEXCHANGEZONE.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you choose your guest for your show?
it's a whole nother, just like you. So when I did the podcast, when I first started, when I thought about the podcast that night when I woke up after leaving the gym and getting my butt kicked at the gym about what I should be doing with my life that I wasn't doing, I started thinking about, once I said I want to talk to former athletes, so I just started making a list of all my teammates, all my former teammates. Then I started making a list of the people, my teammates, and then people who I competed against. And then I started thinking about my college colleagues, and then people who I met from work. And so the list grew from 20 to over 100 pretty quickly, just from people I know. And then I'll ask people, who is it that you think would be a good guest on the show? And, my success rate on invitation versus actualization is, how it is. It's not, it's probably 60% the people I invite who actually accept. I have a few people who just said no. I'm like, wow,
really?
You wait. I'm giving you a platform. It's on Zoom. It's 30 minutes. You're a professional speaker. I allow you to build your brand, and you telling me no? Okay, cool. I do have another philosophy. I don't beg people to spend my money. You don't want to do it? That's fine. I'll ask you once, maybe twice. I'm through. I'm good, because I have enough people to get it done. And if I have to start reaching out to others, I can. I mean, so so to answer your question, I started with just people who I knew, and I just started making a list in Excel of here's who I know. And then I started with, A, B, C, and then I realized I need them all. And then I just keep adding to the list and interview and go from there. I don't do it live. I'm not as bold as you. I don't go live with mine. I record it and then release it later.
See, but you know what? I will say this, and I don't want to be like the guy in the gym, but I think if you went live, though, I think you would really change a lot of things. I really do. And I think it's big. It's you, though. And because I mean that makes a difference.
See, here you go. Every time somebody tells me something, it ends up adding something else to my workflow. I'll look into it. I'll talk to you offline about the live experience.
So what conversations have had the biggest impact on you?
One of the biggest conversations, if you haven't noticed or haven't found, one of the themes in my life is I don't know things that I do. People typically tell me what it is that they see, and then I go do it. Growing up, I was a hooper, basketball player. I love basketball. I enjoyed basketball. And when I was in high school, my junior year of high school, my boy Mike was like, hey, man, come run track. I said, man, I'm not running track. This is in the late 80s. I'm like, I was probably, 6 foot, 135, soaking wet. And I'm like, man, what I look like in that little uniform? Y'all look, that don't look manly to me. That's not a good look. And he said, man, listen, all the girls out here, Jay, just come on, man. And so I was like, do I run track or do I go to off-season basketball? I'm like, you know what, man, forget that. I'll go run track. I'll sit up there and kick it at the track meet all day and whole court. I'm talking about whole court. I went out my cooler, and after my first year of running track, I ended up being all district, made it to regionals. And the track coach and basketball coach, Coach Curley and Coach Carlisle, called me into a meeting one day after track season, but before school was out, and said, James, so what do y'all want? They said, you're good at basketball, but if you concentrate on track, you can write your ticket. I said, write a ticket where? I said, you can get a scholarship. I said, oh, okay, whatever. I'm 17. I know everything. So I go home, and my dad, hey, how was school? And I said, it was fine. I said, man, Coach Curley, Coach Carlisle called me this meeting talking, I'm good at basketball. If I run track, I can write a ticket. He said, write a ticket like scholarship? I said, yeah. He said, where are your basketball shoes? I said, they right there. He gets up out the chair, goes to my bag, get the basketball shoes, put them in the trash, and said, your basketball days are over. So that conversation got me to a full track scholarship. And then the other one was the speaking thing. How do you, the conversation with Monica and and Dr. Rob that day, got me into just putting that speaking in the atmosphere, putting it out there. And then there are other conversations, that I have now. I have people now who call and say, or send a text message, hey, you're doing a good job. Keep going. Don't give up. In this space, man, it can be very lonely and very tiring and very, it feels like it feels like you're going up the hill and all you see is the top. And sometimes I don't take a look back at where I came from. I'm looking at where am I trying to get to. And so, those types of conversations, I enjoy business conversations. I enjoy pouring into people. And I'm getting to the point now where I allow them to pour back. But those two conversations are, to answer your question, were really ones that were pivotal, getting me to the track and then getting me into this full lane of entrepreneurship.
So how do you use your platform to elevate community voices?
The first one is with the podcast, allowing these former athletes to share their stories about the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the wins, the losses, the lessons learned, what they're doing now, that it's not just every athlete, from college on or pros, their life is not over when their sports end. And so getting to share that with the community, being able to speak and talking, to the community is key. I teach a facilitator Sunday school class every Sunday, at my church here in Houston, that gives voice, that gives people something else to go out and continue to talk about. Going to the prison. I don't have to go there. I don't have to go to the school. I don't have to. But again, as I said, if I want to, I can't complain and then not do anything. And so those ways are, are giving back. I go to all the sporting events. My kids are involved in sports, and whatever they do, I go to it. And I encourage that way. Tell the kids, I'm not afraid to tell them, look, hey, you're too good to act like that. You're too good to be that lazy. Hey, you're doing the best you can. Keep grinding, keep working. And I'm also not afraid to tell them, everybody's not going to go to college to play sports. Now, I don't care what your mama says. Everybody's not going to make it. That's not everybody's lane. But what do you do to be a productive citizen? What do you do to learn the lessons here that you use in the classroom? What are you doing with your grades? You say you want to be recruited, but your grades bad. You're not going to go anywhere. And so those things that, I don't stamp it on IG that I went to talk to the school or I went to talk to the kids in prison. That's not my MO. That's not how I operate. But the impact that I have on my community with those around me, I've had parents call, hey, can you come over? I need you to talk to the June bug. I need you to talk to Johnny. I need you to talk to Jimmy. I need you to talk to Felicia. I need you to, can you come talk to my little league team? I just need 7 minutes. Can you tell them something? Yeah, absolutely. My schedule permits. Yes, absolutely.
So what do you hope listeners take away from your podcast?
From my podcast, I want them to be encouraged that and hopefully get some type of nuggets, because most of the athletes have talked about work ethic, perseverance, overcoming obstacles, the stick-to-itiveness, and then there's an end at some point. But that's the same thing in life. How do we have work ethic? How do we persevere? How do we come over obstacles? And how do we know when it's the end? And that's it. And some leadership stuff out of that, because most athletes, especially if you're competing at the collegiate level, you have some leadership somewhere in you, and you have some competitiveness somewhere in you. And so what is I want them to tell their story, and whatever, if they can get something out of it, I occasionally get people walk up, hey man, that was a good podcast I didn't know this about Henderson. I didn't know this about Krishana, or whatever that is. But whatever they're able to share that somebody can, if they can just get one thing, and if they can't, it happens.
So how do you balance entertainment with education?
Edutainment. It's this, and I don't sit down and try to write out I'm not Kevin Hart or Bill Murray or Eddie Murphy or any of those comedians. I'm not trying to be that. But people, if you listen and if you pay attention, they'll give you something to laugh about. They'll say something, they'll do something. If we're talking about body language, and sure enough, somebody in the audience will be doing something. And I know that's not absolute, but if I can say, just like I said, see, body language is 55% of communication, and y'all see him right there, he don't even want to be here. And then the people start laughing. But it's important to know how you look. Sometimes I do certain, I've gotten better about controlling my face. And sometimes I'll do stuff on purpose. But it's you don't want to, not you. I don't ever want to just be a talking head. I don't want to just be up there and this is all about me and I'm going to say what I have to say the way I want to say it. It has nothing to do with you. How do I get the audience engaged? How do I get them involved? How do I get them to go with me on this journey through the exchange zone? And it can be humorous. I had people, I didn't know you were that funny. I wasn't trying to be. It's just real life.
So, what future plans do you have for your podcast?
I just want to keep. I want to get to 100 episodes. I want to get like Mr. King. I want to get to 100 episodes and see where it goes from there. The podcast for me, I don't have any real plans for it because I didn't plan for it. I want to be consistent. I post twice a month. I want to keep. I'm going to keep posting twice a month. I have a friend who. You see, this is why you have to be careful with your friends. I have a friend who's a former football player at West Point, a neighbor. I've been knowing him for a long time. I invited him on the podcast. You know what he told me? I don't want to record it. I want to do it on the fancy couch with the fancy microphones.
Lord.
And so I'm telling my wife, who's a former collegiate athlete, and she said, "Well, I want that too. I'm not gonna get on." I'm like, how you not gonna support me? So one of the things I'm working on now is doing a live, a recorded in-person version of the podcast and just see what happens. I'm doing it and we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
If it goes viral, tremendous. If it helps too, fine. I enjoy the conversations because I've had enough of them just over coffee that I know that they're good. And again, if it just helps somebody, I'll go back and listen to the podcast to get nuggets from the people who've shared things on there, or to get stories, or to get content.
So
I'll keep pushing. I'm just gonna keep pushing, keep producing, keep putting them out there. Yes.
So, what legacy do you want the Yes Summit to leave?
I want the Yes Summit to live beyond me. I want to get to the point where somebody else takes it over and really gives it the time and the energy that it deserves. I think I know it's a marketplace for it. I have not taken the bandwidth to give it all that it needs. But I'm talking to a young lady, and hopefully, we can form this partnership where it lives. That needs to live beyond me. I'm not the product in the Yes Summit. The Yes Summit, the kids who come through are the product. That's bigger than James Brown. That's beyond me. I need that to go and grow and go nationwide and be part, because every community could use it.
So, when we talked, before doing our vetting call, and I told you that we do Black History 365.
Yeah.
And I asked you who were the most influential people in your life and career.
Yeah.
And you told me it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., W.B. Du Bois, and Carter G. Woodson, and your father.
Yes.
Can you tell us, how has Dr. King shaped your approach to leadership?
One thing, and I'll say this, just a blanket statement over all of them, they were selfless leaders. They were about the people and not about themselves. Dr. King did some things that he did not have to do. He went some places he didn't have to go. He said some things that needed to be said, but he didn't have to say it. And if it needs to be said, then who's going to say it? His approach is, it needs to be said. This is injustice. I'm going to be the one who says it. If you're scared, don't worry about it. I'm going to go. And actually, even the night before he was assassinated, he said, I've already seen the promised land. I've been to the mountain. I'm not afraid to die. That's selfless leadership. That's putting others above you. That's giving back. That's legacy. That's impactful. And he didn't do it for the notoriety. He did it because it was the right thing to do.
What lessons from W.B. Du Bois influence your work today?
That it's about education. Everybody's not Harvard worthy. You know, he was what, the first, second PhD from Harvard, first to get his PhD from Harvard. We understand that there is a talented 10th. Everybody's not equal, and I'm not afraid to separate those who are super smart from those who are okay smart. Nothing wrong with being okay smart, but don't, and this is where we do, and I have to struggle. You don't have to dumb yourself down to fit in. If you're part of the elite, go be elite. Go read, go write, go speak, go use whatever. If you see something that's not right, he was one of the founders of the NAACP.
Yes.
Go be educated. Go be what you were created to be. You don't have to live by the circumstances that you're put in.
So how does Carter G. Woodson's scholarship inspire your commitment to education?
Because one of his quotes, one of the things I love about what Carter G. Woodson said is, if you control the man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his actions. How do we get kids to think differently, to think out the box, you don't have to fit in and forget the box. Quit trying to be this notion of our community, especially in athletes, is it's not cool to be smart. Why not? Why can't you be, right now what's going on, and I don't want to go down this soapbox, but it's apropos for right here. What's going on with Jaylen Brown in the NBA is a disgrace. Jaylen Brown plays for the Boston Celtics. He's Cal Berkeley educated. Not just a hooper, Cal Berkeley educated. He's lectured at Harvard and at either Princeton or Yale. He was the youngest lecturer at Harvard. He speaks multiple languages, is an artist, a musician, well-traveled, articulate, and to me, and I don't think anybody, well, the statistics or the guru nerds say he's not even one of the top 5 most efficient players on his team, which is crazy. To me, I asked a couple of years ago, why isn't he the face of the league?
You know what? Now we'll have to talk about that off this camera, because there's something coming that I'm actually doing about that. You just brought up an actual point. I promise you. Sometimes I think a lot of our people don't really be thinking as to what they're looking and listening to. Right. Because when you have somebody like that and they actually dumb him down, put him to the side because of just what's happening today. I'll just put it like that.
For whatever reason. But why isn't it? Why can't we be smart and athletic? Why can't we be, I used to have my kids look up Myron Rolle. Myron Rolle was an All-American safety at Florida State, but he was a Rhodes Scholar, got drafted, went to med school. What's wrong with that? Why don't we lift that up? But if let somebody have a gun with their pants hanging. So anyway, so Carter G. Woodson and these guys were not afraid to be smart, not afraid to challenge the system, going to these schools and letting them know I can't fit in and doing the work to get it done.
Well, you see, that's why we said the miseducation of the Negro. It was true.
Yes, and it's living proof right now.
So what values did your father model that guide your character?
My dad cared about family and family being blood and the community. He was the next to the baby of 12. He was the first to go to college. My grandfather didn't get past third grade. My grandfather was a sharecropper. But to come from where he came from, to do what he had to do, and the older I get, the more sacrifices I realized he made for us, for my brother and I, just to have a chance. You know, he instilled work ethic, he instilled manners, he instilled discipline, he instilled all that, but it was tough love. I need you to be able to function in this world with or without me. Yeah, we're gonna communicate, we're gonna get you whatever we think we need. And everything wasn't yes. You know, there were some no's, no. And no was a complete sentence. And he would, bust you in the mouth, bust you in the chest.
That's that old school.
Hey man, he came up to the school. I was in the 7th grade. I'm a little rascal. And I knew he had enough, so he showed up. And I was doing my thing, and I looked out the window, and he just sitting there looking. Mr. King, listen. Hey, if you want to be a clown, I'm gonna be the ringmaster, and we're gonna do it right here, right now.
Okay, that's that old school.
It worked for me.
Okay. So when you think about these 4 men, how do they collectively shape your worldview?
They all were well studied. And I mean, in terms of reading and understanding, they all were selfless. They all happened to be, and I didn't realize this until I was, preparing for the show, but they all were great orators.
Yes.
I mean, just magnificent in terms of speech. And to speak like that, you have to know what you're talking about, which means you were well read. And they wrote, and they're writers, and they weren't afraid to stand up for what they thought was right. And they didn't think it was right because the media said it was right. They thought it was right based on their own convictions and the work that they had done and prepared to do the things they needed to do to be the leaders. And it wasn't for the show. A lot of these leaders now we have are for the show. It's clickbait. Yep. It's what can I do to get eyes on me? No, this is right, whether anybody says it or not, whether anybody sees it or not. And this is what I'm going to stand on. My dad was put in jail at 16 years old because a woman of another persuasion was walking down the sidewalk and she told him to move inward and he wouldn't move. And so they took him to jail at 16 because he said it just wasn't right what she was doing. I wasn't doing it to go to jail. That just happened to be the repercussions for me doing what I felt was right. And so these men were manly men who stood up for what they believed and weren't afraid to back down. But they were also educated and studied and well-read.
What does Black excellence mean to you?
That as a community, how do we come together to support each other? How do we reinvest in each other? But then individually, how do you become excellent and not perfect? Because there's a difference between perfection and excellence. How do you become excellent at what you were created to do? We all have a purpose. What is it going to take for you to find it? Everybody's purpose is not to be 42-inch verticals playing basketball or 4.240s playing football. But what is that's in you that you need to work towards? They call it our microwave generation where everything comes fast. Nobody wants to wait. Excellence takes time. Usain Bolt said it took me 4 years to run 9 seconds. It took me 20 years to get overnight success. We have to be patient. We have to be willing to work. We need to collaborate. And yes, we can collaborate and compete. That's another thing I love about the podcast. It talks about how we can be we can fight all day long, and at the end of the day, we're gonna hug and go have dinner.
Be
But
family.
how do I support you? How do you support me? How can we build this community? We say we're we're strong as our weakest link. How do we actually literally make that? We need to communicate. We need to get along better. We need to be able to share. We need to be able to express. We need to be able to ask. We need to be able to support monetarily, tangibly, physically, emotionally. Show up, go vote, go vote. Please educate, vote, go to jury duty. Don't skip jury duty. And if you skip jury duty, don't complain. But
Yes.
how do we get there? That's my 2 cents.
So, how do you incorporate Black history into your coaching and speaking?
I am Black history. I am Black present. And the examples I use quotes from a lot of Black figures, just because they're so poignant and they're so appropriate. They're so relevant. And so, although I may not stand on stage and say this is a Black history speech, unless it is a Black history speech, which I have done before, and I incorporate the things that I do into that. But when you look at me and the spaces that we're in, I've been in places where, as a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, I was in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I'm speaking to a group of about 100 people. There are 3 Black people in the room, me and 2 other attendees. When I talk to friends about building the business, those who want to have real conversations, especially like when George Floyd was going on, because that's kind of going away now. That's old news. But one of the conversations I had with one of my counterculture friends was, I said, I'm intentional about what my website looks like. I have to make a conscious decision. Do I want my face on it or do I not? You don't have to worry about that. And so we have those conversations when we need to have them. I have to show up. I have to represent. I need to be as articulate as I can be, as authentic as I can be. But me standing up, that and where I was in Colorado Springs, that's not the first time I've been in rooms where it's been less than 1% of the audience and me.
So, in your opinion, what responsibility do Black leaders have today?
Man, you talk about disintegration. Black leaders need to represent the Black community. Now, everybody's not a leader, and everybody out front does not necessarily mean you're leading or representing me. But this idea of what's best for the greater good, and the people, the Black people have a responsibility in this. What can we do to not have this crab in the, they said, if you want a crab to stay in the bucket, put him there by itself. And well, if you want a crab to get out the bucket, put him in there by itself. If you want a crab to stay in the bucket, put a bunch in there. They'll make sure nobody gets out.
Exactly.
How do we come together and find a cause? Because we don't have to agree on everything, but we need to agree on some things. And have the leaders come and talk and said, what do you need? What do you want? Or you just come around when it's time to get elected? How do we really care about the people? I told you, everybody's your customer. That's one of the philosophies that I live by. How do we make sure that as leaders, the constituents are their customers, and as constituents, the leaders are our customers? How do we support each other? It's give and take. How do we make sure that we get this baton across the finish line without dropping it? Because we've been bobbling it far too long.
So, how do you honor these four influences through your work?
I show up, I represent, I say what needs to be said the best way I can, and I deliver. I show up and I deliver. I do what I've been asked to do what I've been called to do what I've been assigned to do what I get paid to do, but I show up and I represent and I'm prepared.
So, final question. What message do you want future generations to carry forward?
I'll go by what I like to believe in, man. Everybody's your customer. And when I say that, the first time my wife heard it, she was like, "What do you mean I'm your customer?" And it's this idea that we in sales, we do things for our customers we don't do for other people. We adjust to them rather than them adjusting to us. If everybody just had a little bit more hospitality in their DNA, care a little bit, give people the benefit of the doubt. Everything is not personal. Everything is not against you. Give the benefit of the doubt and treat people the way they want to be treated. Everybody's your customer. And if that can pass on one person at a time, one group at a time, one segment at a time, we'll all be better. We don't all have to agree on everything to get along, but we can all get along. We gonna all die. We all bleed.
So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement you'd like to leave with our audience? Tell them how to connect with you via social media. Tell them about your websites, anything that you've got going that they should be a part of.
Before I do that, let me thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for what you're doing to impact the community as a whole, all across the world. You have people from Dublin tuning in. So thank you for this. The only thing I would say, be hospitable. Be hospitable. Be nice. Be kind. Have some empathy. Everything is not against you. Everything is not about you, and everything is not for you. If you could be the best you were created to be, then you've won. My name is James Brown. The concept is called the Exchange Zone. You can find me at jamesbrownjr360.com. Again, James Brown Jr. That's jr360.com. I'm on LinkedIn. You can put James Brown, the Exchange Zone. Instagram, same thing. TikTok, Facebook. You can go to YouTube, James Brown, the Exchange Zone. You can find me there. If you want to call me, call me. I'll put my number out there. I'm old school, 713-504-4590. You can't be any worse than the spam calls I get. 713-504-4590. I do answer my own phone. But King, thank you so very much.
Yeah, so before I'm going to in closing,
Okay.
Can you hang around for a few minutes?
Yeah.
So I want to thank each and every last one of you that's been here throughout the show that's watching. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the continued support. For those of you that are new, that are watching the show, if you are on any of our YouTube channels, I would appreciate if you would support us by subscribing and enabling all notifications. Therefore, as we go live, you get the show live. You're also able to go back, watch each and every show that we have recorded, which are over 600 shows, where you have the opportunity to see all of the great work of all the great leaders that have been here and the impact that they're having on their communities. So in closing, tonight's conversation reminds us that excellence is not accidental. It is intentional and disciplined and rooted in service. James Brown Jr. shows us what it means to lead with energy, to speak with purpose, and to build community through connection. His journey from the track to the boardroom, from the stage to the streets, is a testament to the power of voice, mindset, and mission. He challenges us to adopt championship principles, to treat every person as a customer, and to show up with integrity, no matter the arena. This is episode 100. This is the celebration. This is the elevation. This is America in Black and White. You all, please have a great evening. Come back tomorrow and watch as we have another great, impactful show.